Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ini sekarang kita chapter 7, tajuk dia The Animator's Eyes, Composition and Design for Better Animation. Okay, the animator's eye ni means how the designers look forward to the design, include animation and game design lah, or characters or others. And then the animator's eye also refers about the how the developer or designer create the design to make it more beautiful scenes, remembered characters, and then sometimes they develop the characters or the design to be one of their masterpiece of the design product. Okay, so composition and design for better animation. Composition means balance between characters, or between characters and prop. Okay, so the characters need to create more balance. Normally, when we create the design for animation, so the moving characters need to follow the storyline, and then the storyline need to follow the composition. Composition is balanced from the characters or prop. So, for example, when you create the characters, moving characters from left to right, so the props needs put it more in right situation and right scenes, because the starting point is characters is left, so the need to move to right, so to make it more balanced, we need to put the prop or other things lah, ya, belah kanan tu. Okay, so to look it more balance reason we need to create the imbalance situation, because we need to show the users the beautiful of our scenes, of the beautiful of our design. Okay, the perfect design is more composition. Okay, so the second slide is points ataupun outline for this chapter. First is defining the mood of the piece. Mood means mood from the characters ataupun storyline mood. Okay, for example, if a horror scenes, so the mood for horror scenes is more darkened ataupun more, sometimes they more light ataupun more they put effect. Okay, light, and then they put a effect for such as a fog, kabus, and apa-apalah effect, texture. Okay, for creating the mood. Okay, the second is composition. I already told you about the composition. It means the balance of the design. Design elements is the item ataupun the product or prop or characters, what we need to put in that characters, props or scenes. Okay, and then the supporting the story, normally we refers about the storyline. Okay, storyline from the designing, when you designing. Okay, the next slide is defining the mood. This is example of the defining the mood. Defining the mood also can describe this divide into level for game, and then divide into scene for animation. For example, when situation in war, the mood color is more red, orange or yellow. Okay, that's a mood. So mood what helps others to get inside or helps our heads, show that you are thinking and feeling about a creative idea. Okay, next is composition. Composition from this from the slide, we'll see that composition is balanced. When you put the big character in your right side, so your left side is small, and then you cover it with the prop. Okay, to make it more balanced. Okay, kamu kena cover dia dengan mana-mana prop supaya nampak balance antara kiri dengan kanan. Okay, composition in design. Placement or arrangement visual element. Ingredient in work of art from the subject. Okay, from sometimes we using the music, photography skill, moving arrangement to make it more composition in ataupun balance. Okay, this example is for example ni prop characters atau balance ataupun kita, sometimes kita panggil dia apa ni, perspective. Okay, this is perspective design. Okay. Okay. There are numerous approaches or compositional technique. So this is the example of composition technique. For example, a work of art is said to be aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. So balanced composition, sometimes we refer about the same character, same size in one single design. But sometimes when we look at image B, that's a different size from one single design. But to make it more balanced, so the perspective of the tool of the product or object are in different size or perspective level. So from the image B, we also call it balance in composition design. Okay. So the next is technique in composition. So how we create the composition, the directional followed by the viewer's eye. So viewer's eye means audience punya perspective or perspective. They view the design and then they describe from their own ideation. Okay, the subject should not be facing out of the image. Okay, the subject should not be facing out of the image means normally design, when you want to create the design characters, don't make it look at to the front or to the camera, because when you look the characters look to the camera, that is more difficult to create the composition. Okay, exact bisection of the picture space should be avoided. Avoid the picture space. For example, from the two different image, you make sure the gap between each other's not so far lah. Okay. For example, sometimes we call it the center is white space. So white space tak perlu, jangan besar sangat. Gap between dua characters tengah-tengah tu kita panggil white space. Avoid. Okay. Small high contrast element have a much impact as larger. Okay. High contrast or small image have an impact means when you put the small image and then you make it more bright others than others product or design, so that small image looks more clear, balanced and perfect composition lah. Okay, so in technique composition also there are refers about the horizon line. Horizon line ialah garisan tegak. Okay, principle of composition also need to be aware. Good composition is based on the good design arrangement. Okay, and then the space between the object also need to be same exactly from the others design. Example, gap between them mestilah sama. Okay, jangan ada yang kecil ataupun yang besar gap between each of them lah, ataupun we call it this white space. Okay, negative space. So design elements in character design overall, the fundamental of design include shape, harmony, proportion, balance and so on. So outfit the placement for the item, give you the feeling or clarify the subject. Okay, so when you put the element of the design, so the element ni mestilah have their own places yang akan membuatkan the design lebih nampak padat, teratur dan good composition lah. Okay, sometimes they put the different color, shape or scheme to make the scenario ataupun themes more follow the storyline lah. Okay. So the next is 5 essential elements to creating a character's appeal. So the number first is stories. Stories mean how we create the storyline. Okay, create a compelling drawings, circumstances in mind, being the quick sketches process, showing the character's action and the others are based on your storyline. Okay, how the characters using the body language needs follow the storyline. For example, the body language for horror situation dia tak sama dengan the war ataupun the adventure situation. Body language is how they moving, how they jump, how they shocking, how they climbing and others lah. Okay. Number 2 is gesture. Okay, gesture in characters should be kept loose and raw. This drawing is what showcase the feeling and intention of your characters. So explore many variation, expose the characters using the many variation of moving subject. So you need to use your rough sketches. So from your rough sketches to create the more, to follow your storyline lah. So storyline based on your rough sketches. Okay. Number 3 is design. Design is the shape, your proportion, variety of your props adalah kunci kepada your storyline. That's why when you create the characters, animation, game, the first is you need to know your stories is tell about what, ataupun kita panggil the storyline lah. Storyline is based on what, genre, themes. Okay, when you already put all of that things, and then you can create the perfect characters based on your varieties, proportion and posing characters. Okay. And then form adalah shapes, okay, bentuk, solid component should not be neglected. Before you start getting ahead of yourself in the construction, always be sure the feelings is there. For example, form of your characters are based on what level, are based on what genre, are based on what situation. That is what we call form. Form ialah bentuk ataupun lebih pada figure ataupun tema characters tu. Design ialah skin, how they moving, how they wear, what's their weapons look like and others. Form is what they shows about the figures, about the proportion, the shirts refers for what. Okay, that's about the form. Details means what we need to put on that character's shirt, skins or others to make it more beautiful, to make it more follow the storyline. That's a details. Details also refers about the movie storyline characters. Okay, not also for the characters, also the refers about the prop. Details about the prop also the quite important lah compared to characters. Sama je sebenarnya. Supporting the stories adalah storyline, gameplay, main characters, sub-characters, the villains characters, the props, the secondary props. That's all about the supporting the stories. Okay. So game design, storytelling, and animation. Game design normally have their own themes or skills, but how to develop adalah sama. How we develop the characters, how we develop the storyline, sama je game design dan animation. Dia tak jauh beza. Okay, so when you, for example, in game design mode, so you have a cinematic ataupun short simple story, and then also the storyline when you play the game. Okay, sama juga dengan animation. Animation pun also ada dua, ada yang cinematic, ada yang introduction story, ada yang full story. Okay, ada banyak konsep. But to develop the storyline ataupun the characters ataupun prop, dua-dua genre game design dan animation tu ialah sama. Sama je cara nak pembuatan dia. Okay, cuma floorboard lah. Floorboard means kalau dalam game kita panggil dia perjalanan jalan cerita. Kalau dalam animation kita panggil dia storyboard. Okay, and then the last is step to create a good stories for games or animation. First is create the world. The story start with the world. Maknanya kita cipta the world, dunia mereka sendiri, tempat dia places sendiri. Ya, fantasi or reality tu depends lah. Ada yang buat reality ataupun yang buat rekaan ataupun yang wujud, yang memang dah wujud sebenar, tak ada masalah. Okay, step 2 ialah create the characters. So when you already create the world, their world, and then you create characters based on world concept. Okay, and then storyline or game story. Normally storyline or game story ataupun storyboard ataupun floorboard ada dua step. Pertama, draft. Draft adalah yang mula-mula sekali, iaitu before you start create the world. Okay, and then the second is when you already create the characters. Okay, and then after that, step 5 is you make the storyboard. Storyboard means perjalanan, okay, characters tu step by step to create more, your story is more powerful. Daripada story yang asal, dia akan makin berkembang lah. That's why kita akan sentiasa ada storyboard yang baru, sentiasa updated dia storyboard. Okay, so implement the story in the game dan iterate. Okay, so nikmati perjalanan cerita tu, and then sometimes you need to keep updated your genre, your theme, your location and others to create your game is became more interesting. For animation also, that's why sometimes the animation they put the episode 1, episode 2 and then they continue the episode to create the genre tu makin kuat dan makin kuat lah. Okay, so that's all for today. So thanks all.